money maker. I've been a record breaker, taking credit as an educator. I've been known to spit the flows and make it shaky, shaky thing. Popping, locking, stopping, let it hang. Watch us as we drop this hip hop, it's like it stings. We make the whole room drop and everybody sing. We want the funk. We gotta have that funk. We kick it old school, we think we're so cool. We take it back to the past, we gonna act a fool. Up jumps the middle finger, make my Jaeger just...
Hello, and welcome to Sports Buzz, the Fanatical View. I am your host, Scott D. Lewis, here live in studio, Comcast Cable Channel 23, Danbury, Connecticut. On this lovely May 2nd, spring has finally sprung itself. It has come in full bloom. Really nice, beautiful weather out there. Came in nice and clear. This whole week has been lovely, and it's just been getting nicer and nicer. So that's good news after this long, deal we've had here with the. We have a little problem with the microphone. With the yeah. Hello. Are we having some issues with that, or perhaps we're okay? No. Well, maybe they have the speakers on in the studio, could be causing that. I don't know. Anyways, shall I continue, Bob? It's been a little while since we've had the glitches going. Things have been running so smooth. They creep in all over the place. Who knows? Anyways, let's say hello to my man, Bob Broad Jr. I'm doing very well. Bob, of course, of Spotlight on fame. His show Tuesday nights at 9 and Wednesdays at 12. You can see that. And, of course, our director in the studio, Mr. Mike Toohey, his show Expose Cinema, Friday nights at 10, Wednesdays at 1. I was talking about the nice weather, Bob. They say this weekend it's supposed to be lovely here. It might be rainy down there in the Kentucky Derby, as the Derby, the Run for the Roses, will go this weekend, Saturday, post time 6:24, with Orb as your favorite right now. Verrazano as a close second. And how about this? Rick Pitino. I mean, he's already having such a good year. He's got a horse in the race, Golden Sense, who's one of the, top horses in there. So we'll see if Master P gets himself another championship. Maybe he'll have to go get another tattoo.
I like the long shots better.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens at the Kentucky Derby. We just wanted to mention that real quick before we get into the NBA, Bob. I did not anticipate coming into studio this week and talking about a Celtics-Knicks series continuing. I mean, I thought the series was over, Bob.
I thought so too, but it didn't.
3-0, the Celtics had no chance. It was going to be a sweep. They're dead dogs.
But then
nothing
Brick City
working.
takes over.
Then J.R. Smith threw an elbow to Jason Terry's head, and all of a sudden, wait a second.
Yeah.
Celtics rise up off the mat after Terry got decked by J.R. Smith in Game 3 at the end of a blowout in Boston, and the Celtics hold on in overtime with the Jet, JT, scoring 9 straight in overtime of Game 4, and he was having a good time there, getting into the face of Carmelo Anthony and all that good stuff. So they did force a Game 5. Still, after that, Bob, J.R. Smith, of course, was suspended for Game 4. So we heard that, he would be back, and the Celtics had no chance in the Garden. MSG, last night, Game 5. No chance at all. Everybody wrote them off. Celtics, Knicks would win easily and end this series.
But
what happened, Bob? The Knicks came dressed for a funeral wearing all black as their man Kenyon Martin, had to chirp a little bit before the game, saying, we're all black, it's funeral time for the Celtics. J.R. Smith, of course, when asked, what did he think of JT's performance in Game 4 after he was taking that elbow, He said, who? Who's that? I don't know any Jason Terry. Then he said, if I was in the game, the series would be over and I would have been playing golf today.
Right.
So they had to open their big fat yaps, get things going a little bit. And the heart of the champion, Boston Celtics, showing a little Celtic pride.
Yeah.
They go into the Garden last night, MSG, all lathered up. Everybody thought this was it. Knicks went out to an 11-0 start.
Had the champagne ready on ice and...
Not so fast. 11-0 start for the Knicks. By the end of the first quarter, it was a 2-point game. Celtics had a lead early in the second quarter. They built that lead up to 15, and they basically just held on and cruised to victory last night. Big Kevin Garnett shot late as J.R. Smith missed his first 10 shots of the game. He did hit a couple late threes. Didn't really make it interesting. Right. Knick fans want to think that made it interesting. Didn't make it interesting. Kevin Garnett made that jump shot, and that was all that was all about. So now they go back to Boston for Game 6 after there was some words spoken on the court at the end of the game there.
Yeah, they almost had a little tit for tat.
Carmelo Anthony was not pleased with some of the guys in the Celtics coming off the court there. He was pointing in the face of bench player Jordan Crawford. That started a little dust up. Raymond Felton, who I think has been the best Knick in this series, as a matter of fact, he got involved. He had to be held back. So, Knicks starting to show those signs of the things that went wrong for them during the season, Bob. Rattled easily, soft when pushed, can't take it, not happy with the chirping. So we'll see where their head is at now that the pressure has tightened, and you got to love it. I mean, this is the Knicks have now put themselves on the radar because Charles Barkley was killing them last night, saying, I don't root for any teams when we cover these games, but I'm rooting for the Celtics tonight because J.R. Smith had to go up and, he makes a bonehead move, gets himself ejected, suspended, then he talks smack before coming back. And as Barkley said, stand down, soldier, when you're a bonehead. You don't need to talk. You don't need to come back and insert yourself into the situation like that. Just come back and play. You made a bonehead move. Why are you opening your yap? Because you're J.R. Smith. I guess you can't help yourself. Perennial losers, by the way. How many series in the history of Carmelo Anthony's career has he won, Bob?
I don't know.
I mean, he's been around for a while now.
Yeah, it's been
at least 10 years, I would think.
Better, yeah.
2 series total. A little bit better than Tracy McGrady. Side note, T-Mac finally won a series. He was picked up by the San Antonio Spurs right at the end of the season this year. Piggybacked his way to his first ever playoff series victory. Tracy McGrady, how about that? Great. As the Spurs swept out that fake show. Right there we see Dwight Howard, who got himself ejected in that final sweep-out game, facing elimination. Here's the face of the Lakers moving forward. Dwight Howard, are they going to re-sign him? He got himself ejected. Didn't want any part of trying to do a stave-off elimination from the Spurs in L.A. Ridiculous. About as ridiculous as Kenyon Martin and J.R. Smith opening their yaps before this game, saying it's funeral time. Well, now, also another note from the broadcast last night. I was pleased to hear, midway through the second half, Steve Kerr make the reference. Anybody remember Red Sox-Yankees down 3-0? I remember that, Bob. You remember that?
I remember that, too.
A little comeback there. Yeah. Don't let us win Game 5. And then Jason Terry goes ahead and quotes Kevin Millar after the game. Says, I quote the legendary Kevin Millar, don't let us win Game 5 because things are just going to get tighter for them if we do. And that's what's happening right now, Bob. Things are going to get tight. If the Celtics come out and play well in that first half, get a little distance in this game, the Knicks are going to be thinking, oh my God.
We have a Game 7.
We have a Game 7. And the pressure will be all on these Knicks, of course, who came into the playoffs riding high, 15-game winning streak, late in the year, one of the hottest teams in the league. Everybody, Bob, had Knicks, Heat, Eastern Conference Finals.
Right.
That was it. They didn't even need to play the first or second round. It's already penciled in that this is what's going to happen. And hey, it still could happen. They are up 3-2 in the series. They just need to win one, either in Boston or back in New York for Game 7 if it comes to that. But I mean, really, nobody giving the Celtics any chance. No Rondo. They suffered other injuries. Leandro Barbosa, Jared Sullinger, Courtney Lee sprained his ankle. He doesn't even play anymore since then. Right. I mean, they have no point guard at all on this team, and yet here they are trying to make a little history and embracing the history. Yeah. If I was the in-game video manager at the Boston Garden, Bob, I would be putting up on the big screen over and over again the walk to Kevin Millar, The steal by Dave Roberts. The base hit by Bill Miller. The home run by Big Papi. The bloody sock of Curt Schilling. The grand slam of Johnny Damon. That's right, Yankee fans. His biggest hit ever was at the Red Sox in Yankee Stadium. He never did anything that big for the Yankees, even though you tried to take him in as your own. Everybody knows his biggest hit. Grand Slam Game 7 in the Bronx. That's what we're looking at right now. No team ever in the history of the NBA has come from behind down 3-0, Bob. What do you think? The Celtics got a chance here?
I think they do.
You think that the Knicks are getting a little tight?
Could be.
Or the Knicks are getting a little tight?
Yeah. Maybe the Celtics will come in black tomorrow night. What do you think?
I don't think they'll pull any Bush League move like that. I think they'll save that for the Knicks and say, you can wear your funeral colors. We'll be ready for you. I'd like to think of the old Celtics-Sixers days in the early 80s.
Ooh, those were hot days.
Celtics were the first team ever to come from behind down 3-1 in a series. After they made it 3-2, Kevin McHale said, they had us in the coffin, and now we just undid a couple nails. After they made it 3-3, they said, we got a leg out of that coffin right now, and I think we're stepping out. And then they went on to win Game 7. Legendary, with McHale blocking Andrew Toney at the buzzer with the layup. Oh, what a block that was. I remember it all very well, Bob. And we could be seeing some more history right now. Celtics, no strangers to history.
Right.
They like that history. Knicks, no strangers to losing. They have not won a playoff series since 2000, Bob.
Right.
2000. They only won one playoff game overall, a single game coming into this season since 2003.
Right.
They hadn't beat the Celtics in a playoff game since the legendary series in 1990, and that was a big comeback for the Knicks in that series, the Patrick Ewing Knicks, as they were just starting to rise up. And they did have a great decade, although they did not win a championship. They did come back down 2-0, and then when it was best 3 out of 5 in the first round, Larry Bird had a chance to win that series in Game 4 with a 3-point shot, good look on a quick inbounds pass, and he clanked it, went back rim, didn't go down, looked good when he released it. Looked like that series was over, but it wasn't. Forced Game 5, they went back to Boston, and a late three-pointer by Patrick Ewing, of all people. And Larry Bird missed a reverse baseline dunk late in that game as well. And the Knicks did go on to beat the Celtics. So, we'll see what happens in Game 6 tomorrow night. The interesting thing here, schedule-wise, Bob, there has been a lot of days off, 2 games off, in between most of these first 5 games.
Right.
Now they're going 1 game off for Game 6. If it goes Game 7, they'll play Sunday, 1 game off. That could actually hurt the Celtics. They have, even though they were losing those early games, they were getting rest. Garnett, who has missed a lot of games late in the season, was finding his rhythm, getting some rest, and he's starting to make shots now, which is dangerous for the Knicks, because he wasn't hitting anything early. And of course, he was in foul trouble as the refs were getting overly involved. So we'll see what happens. Kenyon Martin took himself, speaking of foul trouble, right out of the game. After he pumps his team up, telling them to wear all black, he picks up 3 quick fouls, including a flagrant in his early minutes in the game. Then he picked up 2 more in the second half when he came back. So he was a non-factor. So obviously, Bob, big drama going on between Celtics, Knicks, Game 6 in Boston tomorrow night. We got another big Game 6 tonight. Brooklyn looking to stave off elimination after they blew out the Bulls in Game 1. They lost 3 straight, including an epic triple OT affair, Bob. They were up by 14 points with just under 3 minutes to go in this game.
And then
Nate Robinson scores 12 straight points. The Bulls outscore them 16-2 in the final 2.5 minutes of the game to force overtime. They go triple OT, Bob.
It was a hell of a game.
And they go on to win it, to go up 3-1.
Yeah.
Kurt Heinrich played 60 minutes in that game, and he was unavailable to go in Game 5 as Brooklyn bounced back to force Game 6 in Chicago tonight. Heinrich is questionable. I don't know if he's going to play. So Brooklyn still has a chance to come back, I think, because they would have Game 7 at home. And at that point, momentum would be on their side. So that's an interesting game. Other interesting series out west, Denver at Golden State tonight. That series has gotten awfully chippy as Golden State went up 3-1. Denver came back in Denver, and our old friend there, Mark Action Jackson, claiming inside info saying that Denver was playing dirty, going at Steph Curry's ankles in this game. And George Karl, of course, saying, wait a second, Golden State was the only team that was called for flagrant fouls in this game. It looked like they had football players out there.
Yeah.
Did these guys ever play football back in the day? So, big hostility there. They're going back to Oaktown, not an easy place to play. And Golden State looking to wrap that series up tonight as they are up 3-2. Memphis, after being down 2-0 to the Clip joint, watch out. They have now won 3 straight. They go to Memphis tomorrow night to try to close this thing out as they look to have the Clippers number. And Blake Griffin, what is up with this, Bob? He bruised his thigh in the shoot-around or the practice the day before the game, and he was getting beat up by Zebo in the Game 5 in LA there, and he took himself out of the game because he says he's hurt. He's got a bruised thigh. It's the playoffs, Bob. Come on. Stay in this game. So that does not look good for the Clippers, who look to be the toast of the town this year with the Fakers going down in flames.
Yes.
They might go out in the first round, Bob.
Yep.
And now, all of a sudden, what is going on in Houston, Oklahoma City? All these series looked like they were non-series at all. The first round looked like no drama, no nothing, as everybody was running away early. Then Russell Westbrook gets hurt. He's out. Jeremy Lin has been hurt. He's out. But Houston all of a sudden has won 2 straight after being down 3-0. They're going back to Houston for Game 6, much like the Celtics looking to force a Game 7 back in Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City has got to get this thing done right now. Unbelievable. Harden coming back to haunt them. 31 points in the Game 5 win in Oklahoma City last night. So that series now all of a sudden very tense. And the Hawks. Yes. What's up with the Hawks? This series is ridiculous. Nobody in this series can win a road game. When, Bob, was the last time the Indiana Pacers won a game in Atlanta?
I have no clue.
2006.
2006.
2006. That was the last time. It's the old teams that travel to Atlanta do not fare well. It might have something to do with all those gentlemen clubs down there. And I did used to live in Atlanta, Bob, and I know a few things about those gentlemen clubs. And I could see that causing some problems for the out-of-town players coming in, going out the night before the game saying, well, we got to check this out. We'll see what's going on down here in the gentlemen's clubs. So Indiana, ridiculous though, Bob. How about this, Bob? They're the 3 seed in the East. They have a below 500 record on the season, on the road.
Right.
That's ridiculous. I thought they were a better team than this, but they do not look good on the road. That series now 3-2 as they won at home last night. Goes back to the ATL for Game 6. We'll see what the Hawks can do there. They play much better there, and they're looking to force a Game 7 as well. So a lot going on in the NBA with the drama really unfolding right in front of our eyes as the series are playing out, really getting quite good. NHL playoffs, Bob, got underway. Stanley Cup playoffs underway last night, or 2 nights ago, really.
Yes, they did.
And in the Eastern Conference last night, Bruins looked completely re-energized by the playoffs beginning as they were struggling down the stretch of the regular season. The Marathon really did a number on their schedule. Caused some problems for them. They fell to the 4 seed, which I actually preferred. I did like this first round matchup with them and the Toronto Maple Leafs, who have not been in the playoffs in a while. Last night, the Maple Leafs got a power play goal in the first couple minutes of the game. but the Bruins responded with 2 goals in the first period to take a 2-1 lead, 2 more in the second period, and they cruised to a 4-1 win in Game 1 of this series. On the other hand, those Long Island Islanders, the Icelanders, making their return to the postseason. Bob, when was the last time they won a playoff series? I'll give you a hint. It was against the Penguins, who are there playing right now in the first round. I had this pegged before I even looked it up, but I confirmed what I knew already. Right. It was 1993 when they stunned the Penguins, who had won back-to-back Stanley Cups, and the Islanders stunned them. I believe it was round 2 that they did it. They ended up losing to the Canadiens, who went on to win, I believe, their last ever Stanley Cup in that year, as they beat the Kings in that year when Wayne, the Great One, was playing out there in Los Angeles. But the Islanders, how about this for history, Bob, as well? If we're speaking of history, they are 3-0 all-time against the Pittsburgh Penguins in the playoffs. 1975, 1982, of course, in the middle of their 4-year Stanley Cup championship run, and the shocking 1993 win against those Penguins. They are going to need to do much better if they're going to want to repeat that than their 5-0 spanking last night in Pittsburgh. No Sidney Crosby yet. He is practicing. It looks like he will play at some point in this series.
It don't break my heart.
He has not played since he had his jaw broken in a game against the Islanders about a month ago, but he is saying he's ready. They have not cleared him yet, but he is practicing. We'll see what happens. And, of course, your Rangers, Bob, they get underway tonight in a rematch of last year's semifinal matchup that went 7 games against the Washington Capitals. I believe the Capitals and the Rangers have played 4 times in recent years, right? With the Capitals winning 3 of 4 playoff series against them, but not last year.
No.
So the Rangers did squeak in. They moved into the 7th seed, as it were, ahead of the Islanders, who slipped all the way to 8. So they played those Capitals. That series underway tonight. Canadian Senators in the other Eastern Conference matchup. That gets underway tonight. Out west, we got some series that took place already. Blackhawks, the number 1 overall seed, won 2-1 in overtime against Minnesota. They're up 1-0. Anaheim against Detroit. Detroit did continue their postseason streak. They did make the playoffs. They had to go right down to the wire, but they lost game 1 to Anaheim, 3-1. Vancouver versus San Jose. Seems like these two teams play each other every year in the postseason. Vancouver, the 3 seed, they are down to the 6 seed Sharks. 3-1 they lost in that first game. St. Louis, the 4 seed, against the defending Stanley Cup champs and the Connecticut kid, Jonathan Quick. San Jose leads that series 1-0 as they beat LA 2-1 in overtime in game 1. All right, before we get to baseball, I do want to mention the NFL draft took place last week. Before that, the Jets went ahead and traded Darrelle Revis to Tampa Bay. So Revis Island has moved to the Gulf Coast Island, Tampa Island that is. And then after the draft, they cut Tim Tebow. And right here we're looking at a couple UConn players who were drafted. The UConn did quite well. They had, I believe, 6 guys get drafted in the draft. I'm not going to bother trying to break down the draft, who did what.
But Sexy Rexy says we're going all the way. We're going for a Super Bowl.
Hey, Geno Smith, they draft. He says we're going to the playoffs. So now they got a 5-quarterback competition, and that's after they cut Tim Tebow. So they had 6 QBs, Bob. Yeah. They cut Tebow. He's gone. Geno Smith looks to be the heir apparent. The general manager for the Jets would not guarantee that Tim Tebow or that Mark Sanchez would be the starter. Could not even guarantee that who would be on the roster. Yeah. And Sanchez says he is not worried. He likes the competition. He is fully confident he will be the starter and win this 5-quarterback competition. We'll see how that goes. Baseball, Bob. Who has the best record in all of baseball right now?
Do they play in Boston?
They do play in Boston. 19-8. League best. Boston Red Sox leading the way, and really they are backed by the bat of Mike Napoli. 6 homers, 31 RBIs. Big Papi batting a robust 500 since he's been back, hitting safely in every game. Pedroia leading the way with a .330 batting average. Pitching, Clay Buchholz 6-0 with a 1.01 ERA, Bob. Very nice. The Yankees hot on their heels, treading water nicely with all the backups. 3 more guys to the disables list. Jabba, Francisco Cervelli, who I said last week was my most annoying Yankee, and then he goes ahead and gets hurt. He's out for a while, and Euclid goes to DL as well.
Your ex-Red Sox.
No surprise, Bob. No surprise at all, but they are 17-10, back in second place. Baltimore slips behind them 16-12 in third. The Rays 12-15. Toronto, after that 4-game sweep in the Bronx, which was pathetic. Low-scoring games. They blew leads in every one of those games, it looked like to me. They are 10-18, Bob, after they spent all that money. Kansas City continues to be a nice surprise, 15-10. Detroit 15-11. And out west, the Rangers 17-10. The A's right behind them 16-13. Oakland on their way to New York. They start a series with them tomorrow night. The Angels still struggling after they spent more money this year, 10-17. What is going on with your Mets?
I don't know.
Mid-season swoon happening early this year, Bob.
Yeah,
they lost 5 straight, swept by the Phillies. Oh, that was ugly. Then they lose 2 straight to the Marlins before they come back to beat the Marlins in the last game of that series. And they are in Atlanta this weekend. The Braves, of course, first place, 17-10.
Right.
The Nats still struggling a little bit, 14-14. Strasburg with some arm discomfort.
Yes.
People worried about him right now. In the Central, this division very tight, Bob. Cardinals 16-11, Buccos, Pirates 16-12, Brewers 14-12, and the Reds 15-14. Very tight. The Cubs not so much. They are not in the running right now.
Well, the Cubbies they're even worse than my Mets.
Theo's working on it. But he needs some more time to get that team on right track. The Rockies out west still holding down first place, 17-11. Did you see it was snowing in Colorado again this week, Bob?
Yeah.
Unreal. Giants, defending champs, 16-12, right behind them. And this division's pretty tight too. The Diamondbacks 15-13. Dodgers trying to get above 500. They can't do it. 13-14. So when we return next week, we shall see who is alive in the NBA playoffs into round 2. Will it be the Celtics? Will it be the Knicks? Will we be speaking of history in the NBA? Or will the Knicks regroup and get it done and get this thing over with and advance to the second round?
And we'll see who is going where in the Rangers or the
Playoffs, all over the place. Hockey, NBA, it's exciting. We love it. We'll be watching, and I hope you do too. And we will see you next week on The Buzz.